Hello guys and welcome to today's stream. I'm RBG and today we are at the 1 hour endurance special event in the Jaguar XJR9 at Cirque de la Surf. I think that's how it's said, I'm not sure. And I am joined today by co-commentator Allegiant. How you doing, bud? All good?
I'm good, very good, thank you very much. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Looking forward to today's race, which kind of is sort of like a in-between event, I believe, in between the Super Performers series that ended last week, and I believe next week it's the Group 4 Sprint series that starts up, as far as what I remember.
Yeah, pretty much. I believe there's more so just for the sake of celebrating a season that went very well. Had a lot of people interested in it, so we're celebrating that. And,
cool. Are you took part in that season? How did you find it overall in terms of the season overall?
It was actually very good. I wasn't expecting so much competition up the front.
Yeah.
There was a lot of quick drivers, so it'll be interesting to see how the GR4s go.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if Kevin is running in the GR4 series, but he was definitely the a front runner in terms of pace. It was really interesting watching him race. Actually, I think there's quite a lot of us can learn from what he does.
Yeah, Kevin is again a very skilled driver. In terms of fuel management and tyre management, he's probably one of the top in the leagues. But unfortunately, we won't have the pleasure of seeing him race in the GR4s.
Hopefully we'll see him back on the next Super Performer series or something along the lines of that. It'll be good to commentate over him again.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to racing him again as well, to be honest. So,
what was your favourite race of the series? Which one was the one that...
I would have to say Fiji.
Fuji, yeah.
Or Fuji.
That was the first one I actually commentated over. That one.
Yeah. To be honest, I had a bit of an advantage there because I also do the Red Bull League on Mondays, and we had the same race there, so I had a fair bit of practice.
That's not cheating, though. It's all good.
Yeah, of course, but
it all counts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
so about today's race then. Let's put a focus on today's race. So today's car, let's pop that up on the screen and have a look at what we're doing today because it's a one-make race. We're racing in the Jag XJR9. I'll move that to the centre of the screen. No sense it being there. Jaguar XJR9. It's not actually one that I've raced myself. It's the 1988 version. I think it's a Le Mans car, isn't it? From the racing back then. Not actually one I've been in myself. Have you raced this car much?
I haven't raced it a lot, no. I tried a little go in it earlier on just to see what it's like, to give obviously people a heads up. It is a very stable car, very nice platform to drive. Brakes aren't the greatest, so we could possibly be looking at a couple of people out-braking themselves, which
it's something to look forward to.
Could cause a couple problems, but in terms of pace and drivability, the car is fantastic. I wouldn't knock it at all. As you said, in 1988, it actually won Le Mans, so the car is very competitive.
Very competitive, and it's with it being a one-make race, it very much comes down to driver skill as opposed to sort of different setups and different car advantages that people might have. So it is. I do quite enjoy racing in and also commentating over a one makes, because it is it really is just a pure a test of racing ability, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. As you well know, we in the leagues we have loads of different driver skill levels, so it'll be nice to see how the people that aren't as skillful drive the car, whereas it'll also be nice to see the faster guys drive it and see how they cope with the amazing amount of power this car actually contains.
We do actually have a broad member list today. Let's have a flip back and look at who's racing today, and let's go for some predictions. I think it's good to do some predictions, especially with yourself being here, and especially with some unknown quantities being here, because there's a lot of names here that I don't recognise either. Let me just go to the member list actually, because I don't think I can see everyone. Yeah, so this is everyone we've got in for today, ignoring myself, who's just here for the commentary. So looking at that, who are our front runners for today then? do you think, if you were to put your money where your mouth is? And likewise,
money where my mouth is.
Likewise, this goes to everyone in chat as well. And hi to everyone in chat. Sorry, I haven't said hello yet. Feel free to put in your predictions for the top 3 for your podium predictions for this race prior to us getting started. But yeah, let's put your money where your mouth is, Allegiant, even prior to the quali starting.
Alright, so I reckon it's going to be out of RGF, Lankstar and Roadrunner Dan for pole.
Right.
If I was going to pick one of the 3, I would probably say Roadrunner.
Roadrunner Dan, yeah.
He does like his high-powered cars.
Okay.
I would say a very close second between Lankstar and RGF from what I was seeing them run earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take one of them for second and third.
Second and third.
I reckon Simo will be 4th, and I'm gonna take a wild guess here. And
this is your surprise package.
Yes, this is my surprise package.
Okay.
And I'm gonna actually say Beardy for 5th, because I do like the way Beardy races, so it'd be nice to see him up there.
Beardy for 5th, right? That's your a wild card, is it?
Yeah, he'll be my wild card for today.
Oh, right, okay. We'll see how the results pan out. Let's go back to track now and see how everyone's getting on in terms of practice and stuff. So let's go out there as Leets finds himself eating some gravel.
Yep, that's going to be a very common occurrence, as I said. People out breaking themselves. Going to happen quite often, I reckon.
I think we're going to see it a lot.
Yeah, so hopefully they manage to keep it clean.
So fastest lap at the moment we're seeing is coming from Simo with a 301.9. Does that surprise you? Seeing Simo leading free practice?
It doesn't, no, because again Simo is a very capable driver. I don't know whether he's had slipstream during that lap or not. If he didn't, then that is a very competitive time. Obviously, if he did, then advantage him. But no, that isn't too surprising, because this is Simo's favourite track, so we should actually see quite a few good things from him today as well.
Long track here, but long track with not many turns. That's what I'm kind of seeing. Is that kind of a fair way to describe Assert de la Salle?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Obviously, with it being a one-make race, the long straight isn't so much a key point now. I'd say it's more so the Porsche curves and the earlier cornering section at the beginning of the lap will probably be the deciding factor. So
we should be seeing a lot of action there then.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we hope to see.
Hopefully, like I said, with the brakes being how they are, we could even see a couple accidents in those sections as well.
I was just about to ask you, we've had people's predictions for the podium, so we've got you know podiums and who's going to be sitting there. We've got Ethan coming in with first place Simo, second place Simo, and third place Simo. And Rapid's coming in with first place Dan, second place Lankstar, and third place Simo. And it looks like we're just going to qualifying now. So we'll go out and follow someone when they get out to track.
Okay, it looks like Elite Digits is going to be the starting man, so see how they all do. But I'm expecting quite a few big things from a few drivers here today.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to be...
It is a very fast pack.
We've got a 15-minute quali, and obviously with the outlap being as long as it is, what would be your approach here? Would you just try and get as many fast laps on a single set of tyres, or would you be changing them up?
No, what I would probably do here is I'd do a slow first lap and use the lap to burn some fuel while looking after my tyres.
Yeah.
Then I'd probably do a second lap, where I'm punching it, trying to set my banker lap, and then I'll probably again fly around for the third lap. Hopefully have enough time to cut in for a new set of tyres quickly and do one more lap, and then that should lead me on to my final lap for qualifying. So there's possibility of 2 very quick qualifying laps coming up over the course of the next 15 minutes.
So my normal approach with the qualifiers is I kind of like try and follow sort of one person per lap, because it's we can hop around and sort of see how people are doing, but it's quite hard to follow what's going on if we're hopping around people. But with this lap being as long as it is, I don't know if that's the best approach, but I think it probably is still, isn't it? If you follow someone for one lap, or do you reckon we should break it up? Didn't really give it much thought prior to this.
I reckon breaking it up would be better, so everyone gets a bit of love.
A bit of time.
Obviously, they're all great drivers, so it'll be nice to see them all having a bit of love. But I reckon for maybe the first lap, try and stick with a few of the faster guys, see how they're taking their lines.
Let's see what the race pace is.
Yeah.
So shall we go? So who shall we start on board with? Shall we start first lap going with Langster? Follow Langster's first half lap, and then we'll switch over to a road runner down, or something like that. That seems like approach.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, to be honest. It'll be interesting to see the difference between the two.
Is Dan running in today's race, actually?
He should be.
Yeah, I haven't seen his name come up yet. I don't know if I just haven't said it.
Should be. Let me double check. Because I think he put his name down for the event.
I'm fairly sure he did. I just wasn't sure if he went into the open lobbies that they're also hosting as well. But just going over to chat now, so we'll just say hello to everyone in chat. So if anyone in chat, feel free to speak up, and we'll try and answer what people are asking and stuff like that. So the draft on this race, according to TW Sim Race, is going to make this one interesting. I agree. I think the draft could be definitely a bit of a pain, especially on those long straights. Just a case of when you make that move and how much have you got. Be good. James has got a Simo for the win. We've got Gregor coming in, going go for a Dejovis. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Please correct me on pronunciation. And Ujavank, I don't know. Again, apologies for my pronunciation. Feel free to correct me on the other side. And GT Rapid asks if Legion has been listening to opera today. I assume you might have an idea about that, Legion.
No, today I thought I'd save my ears from the lovely sound of opera and make sure I can actually hear what's going on. So no, I haven't been going for the opera. As for some of those choices, Dejovis is actually a very good driver. He's improved quite a lot over the last month and a half, so he could again be an interesting one to watch.
Okay. Where are you seeing him finishing? If you're again lying in the sand, what's his range here? What's the best he could hope to achieve? I think is probably a better answer to the question to ask you.
I reckon anywhere from maybe 5th down to 8th.
5th down to 8th.
Sort of area.
So if we see him there, we know he's run a good race.
Yeah, definitely.
Great stuff. Looks like we've had a dropout, as looks like the mediocre GT driver unfortunately dropped out. I don't know which person that was on the grid.
From what I can tell, I don't actually know either. He must have been one of the newcomers for the event.
So unfortunately, Langster has grabbed himself a half-second penalty on his quali lap, which I assume that wouldn't make a difference even on a certain design, right? Because I don't think it even counts, or does it on the next lap?
It depends, because
if you grind it down,
ArbieG Racing, you can grind it down, and
and he's just lost the back end there. So I think Langster unfortunately is going to have this as a banker lap. But let's go on board with somebody else, and we'll just cycle back through the back. So who's back here? We've got Beardy back here. I'm actually trying to find Dan, see if he actually is in today's race. So just going to pop back to number 12. I don't think Dan is actually in today's race.
No, it looks like he's absent, which is a shame, because would have made it quite interesting.
Definitely. Right, so
obviously now means my predictions are all wrong.
So outside of Langster, who else are we predicting to be one of the front runners in this race? Simo.
Simo for sure, and RGF.
I
think his name's Damley. I think.
Damley. Yeah, we'll refer to him as Damley. So we'll start with Damley because he doesn't actually have a penalty, and he's the front runner in terms of the track. So it looks like he's coming through now to finish off his lap.
It looks like it's going to be quite competitive as well.
Setting the pace from the off. Looks like the track limits on that chicane's pretty generous, as he comes now with a 3:04.4. So certainly setting the race pace. Elite coming through now with a 3:07. And we've got Simo just behind. Dragging through with...
Takes pole
with 3:03.9. Lay's coming through with a 306. Lankster now coming through. Fortunately had a bit of a slip as we saw earlier with a 30. Still with a good time though, 305.4. Doors coming through now, 308. Beardy with a 309.6. Ryan with a 310. Oscar with a 307.9. Good time there from Oscar as well. How are we saying that name, Allegiant? Uga?
We'll go for Barney.
Barney. Okay, we're on board with Barney.
Yep.
So big boy Barney. Just coming to the start of his lap, but I'm not sure who to go on board with now. Let's go with Simo, who again finds himself a little bit in front. Is our current pole position with a 303.9. Again, a lot of penalty abuse going on. Assuming there's a lot of track limits. Finds himself actually up on his split, but with that half a second penalty, he's going to have to absorb that at some point during his lap, as we've now got most of our races on track. On track, what am I saying? Sorry, on the long straight. As a damn lead now comes down towards the end of the long straight, and is actually again 1.7 seconds up in terms of time.
Yeah, he seems to be very competitive. I've never actually seen him race before, but from what I can tell, he's going to be a bit of a wild card himself. So it'll be interesting to see how he does.
So a bit more from chat. RGF puts in go Damley. I assume they're part of the same team. We've got a chap called Adam. Hi Adam. Saying a Lankster with his pineapple haircut. So hello from No Hassle, saying hey ArbieG and Legion, looking forward to the race. Yeah, good to have you here, man. Roadrunner Dan saying he's hosting a lobby and he's cheering for big boy Barney. And Rapid's going for Jovo for the win, which I think is a Jovis. So Damley again running what is a very good lap here. Must be pushing himself a little bit more. Like you said, might be just going for the banker lap on that first lap. Get himself something that's a nice time and really push his lines going into lap 3. Running on the super softs, which I imagine most people will be on the super softs, but we'll have a flick through and see who's on what tyre as well in a mo as he comes through now, and he's giving himself a little kick there, would have punished him. Still enough to get in pole with a 302.2, but let's jump back now to Simo, who's going to come over the line himself, and let's see if he manages to claw up on that. Don't think he's going to have it though. I think he's going to be just behind, and he is there with a 303.9, so must have not far away from his first lap, but not enough to improve, which he seemed to be up on his first split when we're on board with him. But let's drop back a bit. Let's go on board with Lay's 1 star. And let's follow Lay's 1 star, who's running at a pace of roughly 306, so a few seconds behind our front runners, but certainly still putting in a very good lap, which is finding him in 6th place as he runs himself a little bit too much on the braking there and just affords the other car the space to go through and not interrupt anyway. So well played there from Lay's in terms of sportsmanship, and we will move over to someone else who might be pushing for a lap. We'll go with Elite, our host for tonight. Currently running, his best lap's a 305.1, so a very good time there from Elite as well. Currently running on a lap, going down the back straight in a minute with a 1 second pen, so that's going to be quite a bit to grind down. So that might be having an impact in terms of him trying to improve, but we'll see what happens when we get to see the next split. No, he's 1.5 seconds up from his best time, so certainly not looking like he's going to be pushing. Let's go back a bit further down. Let's go on board with Oscar. Oscar Zero, who's just coming to the end of this lap now. Best lap is a 307. Must have had an off on the previous lap, as he finds himself a little bit back now and running a big time there at a 3:53. So he must be trying to come in now with a fresh lap. And let's just have a look and see where he comes in terms of his split. As he comes through the first section, probably not the cleanest ever there, but still pushing through. Looks like, as you were saying, Allegiant, this car can be a little bit hard to handle under braking. That's what I'm noticing.
I've also noticed that quite a few guys are running traction control, which is also understandable due to the massive amount of power the car has. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the cars for the guys with no traction control,
definitely
compared to the guys with the traction control running. So it
I'd
should be
be,
quite interesting.
if I was on this, I'd be definitely trying to do it without the traction control, with the exception of the grid start, really. But
Yeah.
obviously, that's all about, you know, what's more important to you. Is it important to you to be able to shave off that extra half second or so per lap that you'll gain from the TCS, or is the consistency of knowing that you're more likely to stay on track going to be better for you? And I suppose that comes down to your individual skill level, really, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The bad side of running TCS for the whole race would be, obviously, you're going to come out of corners a lot slower because the traction control is constantly stabbing at the brakes, but it's also going to have an effect over your gearing, because the car's got quite an old gearbox. It's quite rough, and the TCS could actually make the delay between gears quite substantial. So definitely wouldn't recommend running TCS myself personally. If anything, I'd just say do a bit of throttle control, ease the car out of corners just to keep it under control rather than run the TCS. But
yeah, I suppose it's what each person feels comfortable with personally, and I suppose if you really are sort of feeling a bit behind in terms of the pace and just don't want to have an off, it is the safer option of the two, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I would just like to say Simo has just set a very nice lap. He's now
3:01.3, yeah, very, very nice time there from Simo. Really pushed himself there.
Yeah, it seems that no one's got an answer for him at the moment, to be honest.
Not at the moment. We'll keep following a little bit towards the mid to late pack, because I know we've given a lot of time to the other guys at the start of this race. But if you wouldn't mind just keeping an eye at the top and let us know if anything big changes there. We're going to go on board with Ryan, who's just grabbed himself another track limit penalty there. Like I said, a lot of guys seem to be doing that on this track, extending the limits of the track a little bit. How do you find the track limits on this track? Do you find them pretty wide or pretty tight in places?
To be honest, it varies depending on the place on the track. Through the first section, it's very strict, whereas towards the back section, it's a bit more lenient. So I suppose they're just trying to find their place on the track, and hopefully we won't see so many during the race.
So we've got Ryan here running about half a second in front of his best. Still got a little bit of a pen to grind down, but I think that'll come through a natural braking and stuff like that, as people just don't take the most efficient lines through corners and stuff, so that he should naturally be able to grind that down. So he's looking pretty good to certainly make an improvement. If he can keep this up, he'll certainly move up in position, as he's still half a second up, and he should be able to climb up at least to 9th or 8th place if he manages to pull off the rest of this lap and maintain this pace. So a good lap here from Ryan, and we're just going to look a little bit further back as well. We've got Beardy at the back, currently running about 8 seconds behind the front of the pack, running his best lap at the minute, like 8 tenths in front of his best. So again, that should see him climb if he can manage to maintain it. Again, someone else with track limit penalty back there. We're going to go on board with Barney as well, just see what the status of Barney is, how he's been doing. He has yet, from what I can see, and tell me if you see otherwise, unless I'm just it's not on the screen where I can see it, he's yet to put in a lap. Well, it says his best lap's 9.5 seconds up from the best time, so he must have put in a lap that's better than the 3:22 that we can see on the side. He must have gone in at some point.
Yeah, it looks like he's done a little trick we use where we tend to pause the game and just
exit.
Yeah.
I'm never sure was if that was allowed or not, so I never did yet. So nice to know if that's allowed. So great. I'll know that from the next race. So Barney got a bit of work to do in terms of putting in a lap. He needs to get a good time in, and he's got about 1.5 seconds to grind down to pull himself out of the back of the grid. But quite honestly, with this race and sort of what I'm expecting, as we just had someone say finish there. I don't know why it said that, but we've got about 2.5 minutes left, so we are coming up to pretty much the last laps people can do, unless they can get over the line, which I think a lot of people are just coming over the line now. So I think we're going to get one more lap in from everybody. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone can move or shake from where we are. Let's just have a look at the state of the play. Oh, actually no, I believe people were finishing in front. Apologies, didn't realise we got to the end. I thought we were on one more lap.
Yeah, it's actually gone by very quick. So this will be everyone's last chance. So for those who have pitted, possibly left it too late, but it'll be interesting to see whether they can improve and gain some positions throughout the race.
Ugo managed to run a 306 flat there, so that was a good time there. And Beardy coming in with a good time at the end with a 306.5, so making a bit of improvements, jumping themselves up a little bit at the end. Ryan's just coming in now. Or has he already come in? Sorry, I thought he was just coming in. Yeah, I think most people are in now.
I believe that's everyone in now. So,
great stuff.
Yep.
So it looks like we've got our grid. Are there any surprises you're seeing there in terms of ordering?
I would say Oscar.
Oscar.
I've seen him race a couple of times. I wasn't expecting him to be so high up the grid. So
one to watch then.
Fair play to Oscar. Yep, definitely. Jovis, pretty much where I predicted him to be, roughly between 5th and 6th. Elite Digits, as you know, is already a bit of a wild card, so it's nice to see him up front. Hopefully he can keep up. But no, I'd say it's pretty much where I would have predicted it to be, so good stuff from all of them.
We'll try and keep a view on the first lap madness if we can. It can be a little bit hard to keep an eye on it all, but we'll see what we do if we can, and hopefully we can use the replay system correctly to watch back the first 18 seconds or the first couple of corners if it does get a bit messy. So we'll have a go at this, but well done everyone, especially people who are currently in the race at the minute on the qualifying session. Well run. I didn't see any serious incidents or anything. I know it's not likely to happen in quali, but it can do. So good to see, and it looks like we're just waiting now to go through to the qualifying as everyone finishes up. And yeah, I just want to wish everyone the best of luck for the race.
Right, by all means, good luck to everybody, and it'll be interesting to see how you all do.
Yeah, reminder for the rules today. I'll quickly get the info up. So it's a 1 hour endurance race today, so we're looking at quite a lot of time to go through here. Obviously running at roughly 3 minutes, 3:10 a lap. We're going to see a few laps come through. I haven't worked out in my head yet. Once I do, I'll come back with you on that one. And everyone's in the same car as we were talking about before, the Jaguar XJR9 1988 Le Mans. As we're going through the race now, so I'll pop that off the screen. We don't need to see that. So time for the race, and we'll see what happens in this very early part. My personal choice is, especially in these hour endurance races, don't try and win the race in lap 1, because you are never going to win it in lap 1.
Yeah, definitely.
Try and focus on just staying in position and staying on track, and staying with the pack in general. And we've got a lot of movement there, a bit of an off unfortunately, can't quite see who that is, but we'll go back and check that. Don't know if that was collision or just a bad start. Simo's still holding first place, but got a lot of cars around him as Elite comes up on his inside. Damley runs a little bit wide, and these angles aren't very helpful. Elite fighting a lot with Damley as Simo's pushing back to take his position. A lot of movement already. Langster coming up on the inside, taking them both. Very well done there by Langster. A lot of movement still, so we've got Damley in first, Langster second, and Elite in third. Simo finds himself at victim there of a couple of early moves as he looks up the inside of Elite and finds himself back up in third position. A lot of movement already at the top of the race. Langster pushing up already really quick up on Damley, only finds himself a little bit behind as we come down the straight now. He's sitting in a slipstream, so he should be able to make the move. At some point he's got a lot of track in front of him. It's just a question of whether he's just going to sit there and try and fuel save, or whether he's going to use it to make the move. What would your approach here, Legion? Would you be looking to fuel save, or would you look and get past so early in the race?
Right now, what I'd actually be looking to do is to work with the leader, try and create a gap behind rather than battle, just to ease off a bit of pressure on myself, and then maybe battle towards the end as we come towards the pit window.
I'm just going to get the telemetry back up. I don't know why it does this, but apologies guys. There we go. Get the telemetry back up as we now come down out of the straight. It looks like Langster did what he did there and just sat in behind, but if you look, it's afforded the opportunity to really close up that gap. They had that gap over a second on Simo, who's now brought that down to under half a second.
Yeah,
so a lot of action.
It seems like maybe Langster broke a bit early just to make sure he didn't collect Damley, so smart thinking by him. shame Simo caught up, but now hopefully the three of them will work together, create that gap, and make the race quite interesting up front.
So we've got Ryan up in 5th, so must be doing really well here. Looks like there's been a lot of carnage going on at the back of the race as we come through now. Still a very, very tight mid-pack of the race. A lot of movement going on, so we're going to be looking at really going into the next lap until people find their places in their race and manage to settle down. As you can see, big pack there, and it's one of those packs that's so big it makes it a little bit too hard to commentate what's going on really. But Happy looks like he's up on the inside, and Beardy actually comes back and retakes his position, so he's up in 7th place. And it just looks like there's a lot of movement, and it looks like things might be starting to level out a little bit as people find their positions. A little bit of movement. Dejovis finds himself a little bit further back. Must have had a bit of traffic being caught into and found himself moving back a little bit. Happy finds himself in 9th place. I believe he started in about 8th or so, 7th or 8th, so he's dropped back as well. And it looks like, as I said, people starting to say it looks like Happy's he thought about making a move up on the inside. I don't know why he's not sitting in the slipstream there. Not sure about what he's trying to do. I think he's just going to sit back and see what happens between Beardy and Dejovis as they both overrun and outbrake themselves there a little bit. And let's see if we can get on board with some people as we go back up the top now. Let's see what's going on at the top. So it looks like Damley has pulled himself away there with a good 3-second gap in front of Lancaster now. Lancaster's still caught up in a fight here between Oscar, who's come out from nowhere. Oscar is in this fight as well, alongside Simo. So really is now, looks like still not decided about who's going to be leading this pack. But this scrap going on between 2nd, 3rd and 4th is really given Damley the chance just to build up a little bit of a gap and something that he could probably work on and maybe even get this race in the bag early doors. So any initial thoughts on how this race is going so far? It was a little bit hard to track the second half of that lap just gone. I think there was a lot of movement going down that was quite hard to keep track of. But how you find this race so far?
To be honest, from what I'm seeing at the moment, this pack from 2nd up to I think it's 6th, really need to settle it down and focus on capturing back up to Damley, who seems to have broken away. I'm not sure if that's because of an attack or a mistake made at the start of that.
Elite had a little bit of a slip there. Let's go on board with Elite, and we'll go on board with a few more people now. Cinematic View seems to be losing a few little bits and pieces, but he did have a little slip there. He looked nice and close up on Ryan, and he looks like he's just had to slip back now. As on Ryan looking to like he's going to be making the move on Oscar, and Oscar's dropped back from that top pack. So Ryan running a really good race here as Oscar takes his position back really nice there. Lucky that there was a ghost, or else there would have been a bit of an accident there. It looks like it's a nice scrap here between these two as Ryan comes round and Oscar's on the inside, got him on the cut back, and he looks like he's re-established his position there, and looks like that gap is starting to grow out again, and it's given Elite a chance to pull up. So we'll go on board with Elite, who looks like that gap is closing down for him. And definitely the more that these two fight, this is like, number one rule that I've learned in these kind of the early stages of a longer form race is try not to get in too many fights too early. You know what I mean? Because you're just, well, in my mind anyway, are you losing time against the people that you're actually trying to race against? I was in a race the other day with Roadrunner Dan and a few others, and Roadrunner, I was in first place, and I was in there for a while, but it was like the second lap of like an 8-lap race or something, and he was attacking me going into turn 1 of the second lap, and I just left the door wide open for him and let him go for it, because I knew my race wasn't with Roadrunner Dan. You know what I mean? Realistically, because I know he's got a good 2 seconds on me per lap, so there's no point in me spending half a lap trying to over defend and letting the people that I am actually trying to race against bring down that gap. So yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people can work on a bit, is trying not to be in too hard and trying to win the race in the first lap.
Yeah, I actually agree there. I tend to do the same. If I'm racing and I know the guy behind me is quicker, I would rather let him go and try and just stay in his slipstream to help it myself along, rather than, again, like you said, let the guys behind catch you up. Because the bigger the gaps you can create, obviously the easier your race will become. So we've got definitely the smarter move.
That's what I feel, but obviously everyone has their own approach, don't they? So we've got Simo sitting in the slipstream here, coming towards the end of the straight. I don't know if it looks like he's looking to make the pass. Don't know, again, if he could learn from that whole aspect of just trying to sit in behind and fuel save against a Langster to run a good race, but it looks like he's going to try and outbrake him on the inside. It looks like, is he going to make that stick? Is Langster going to get the cut back? As Langster actually pushes himself a little hard and loses grip going out of the turn at the end of the straight, and it looks like Simo's managed to push himself up to second place. Looking like roughly on about half a tank of fuel as well. Fuel saving wise, they're around about the same in terms of tyres and fuel, so not much differences in terms of tyre wear and stuff, so it's going to be a very interesting race. It looks like our share play is going to stop in a few minutes, so we're going to have to reset that. Sorry about that, guys, but for the commentary we use the share play system, so we have to reset that every hour. So I'll wait for a bit of a lull in the race, and we'll me and Legion very quickly do that. It looks like Ryan's got himself one hell of a penalty there, 4 seconds. Must have been a bit of a collision happened there. I don't think you get that for any kind of track penalty. So it must have been a bit of an incident there, and he found himself with a 4-second penalty, so hopefully that wasn't too serious there. But Ryan's actually running a good race, finding himself in 5th place. Oscar Zero, in 4th place as well. I think that's really good to see. He's finally managed himself to get himself into a nice little gap there in between Langster and Ryan. 2 seconds either side just affords you the room to be able to race your line really, and race your kind of laps, and be able to put in some of the better times you're able to hit in your practices. Beardy's gone up quite a lot through this race. He's found himself up in 7th place after, I think he qualified in around about 10th from what I remember top of my head. He's actually managed to pip a position there from Elite, who had a bit of a slip and slips back down to 7th place. So yeah, an interesting race so far. Still a lot of room to go, because we're only just coming out of a 3rd lap with 50 minutes through, and I'm just going to have a quick catch up with chat and see how chat's going on, because we haven't gone from that. So we've got Alistair. Hey Al, thanks for dropping in and saying hello. James said, Simo said someone can have his luck, he doesn't need it. Dan says it was a great start. Sim Racer laughing at Ryan's Jag XJR9 livery. I think there's some great liveries in this game overall. A bit of battling going on here between Elite and Beardy, and we'll get on to sorting that share play out recently. Shortly? What was I recently for? Dan comes in saying Ryan is just staying safe. I was going to assume his name's Ryan, but everyone's calling him Reese now, so I'm not sure. But someone correct me if his name's not Ryan, and I'll stop calling him Ryan. And we've got Azavar coming in saying Langster for the win. Damley still looking like he's got a gap ahead of Simo around about 2 seconds, so certainly not enough to certainly think this race is in the bag, and enough that any kind of mistake or any kind of slip-up is going to see that gap come whittling down. As that might be it there, as he makes a little slip up there and affords Simo again the opportunity to break up a bit, as Simo runs a purple section there and is currently holding our fastest lap. So Simo certainly might be able to push up here and make a challenge up top. So what we're going to do, I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but I'm going to quickly overlay something on the screen whilst I quickly reset the share play with Allegiant, which I'll do with you now, buddy.
Brilliant.
So any immediate thoughts about the race at the moment?
To be fair, right now I'd say it's a bit too close to call. There's a fair few battles going on. I don't know if you realised just before we had to sort the share play out, but Oscar actually managed to catch Langster and pass him, so Oscar's now sitting up in 3rd.
Oh, great!
So it's still still a lot to come, still a lot more interesting things to happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Cool. Thank you for everyone for your patience. I just had to reset the share play so Legion can carry on seeing what was going on in the race because it was about to expire. We've got Chris dropping in. Hey man, how's it going? Thanks for dropping in the chat. So we're on board with Simo, and as you said, Oscar finds himself up in first place, running a fantastic race. Looks like the top two have managed to build himself up a lovely gap with a 6-second gap in between those two, and it looks like Lancaster is trying to push up on Oscar. Must be wanting to push up and get that third place, but it looks like we're going to have people that are separating out into their little packs now. If we go back to Beardy and let's see where Beardy finds himself about 5 seconds behind the pack in front of him with Lancaster, with Happy right up behind him, trying to attack an Elite, still not out of it yet, about 2 seconds behind them. So Elite running certainly quite a good race as well. Adjovis a little bit behind from where he started, finds himself just behind Elite, not far behind, only about half a second or so, so certainly not behind pace and able to keep up. You know, he's got the potential to move anywhere between where he is and up to 5th. We've got Ryan, I'm still going to call him Ryan until someone corrects me. We've got Ryan back in 9th place, slipped back a little bit, must be, and he's still got that big penalty drifting over his shoulder, which hopefully he can grind down before the end of this race. He finds himself about a second behind Adjovis and about 3 seconds in front of Barney, so he's really going to have to push himself a little bit and see if he can pull up against that pack in front of him. Hopefully they'll pull up against each other and start having little battles between themselves, and now give his opportunity to try and pull back a little space. Big boy Barney just a little bit behind, about 3 seconds behind that, so he's got himself a little bit of a gap either side. He got a big gap between himself and Dawes behind him, about 10 seconds, so he doesn't really have to worry hugely about that unless he has an offer or anything. And again, it might just be a similar situation to what Orion's in, hoping that a few people in front of him get into a few scraps and a few battles to bring them down a little bit and hopefully give them a chance to grind down that gap and pull back. We'll go on board with Dawes. Dawes in 11, sorry. I thought that was number 11. No, Dawes there finds himself about 10 seconds behind, as we were saying. Time difference between himself and Laystar is very, very close. Are they right on top of each other?
Yep.
Yeah, they are right on top of each other.
Close together.
They're close together. So we've got Lays 1 star and Dawes having a race here for 11th place. I've raced these two quite a lot in Tier 2. Are very fun to race against. So it'll be interesting to see what where it comes out between the battle between Dawes and Lays 1 star. My money for the 2 tier guys, my money's going to go on Lays 1 star for the win between this battle, but we'll have a wait and see how that comes out. Again, I'm thinking how to pronounce his name. Ugor, do you reckon that's alright? Culturally appropriate? I don't know. Yeah. So he finds himself again a little bit of a gap for himself as well. It's not a bad a situation to find yourself in, I find, when you find yourself in this little situation where you've got a nice gap in front and a nice gap behind it. It just affords you that time in the race to not focus on what everyone's doing around you and just try and get your head down and just try and put in some good times. I really enjoy these parts of the race because it just allows you to just have a bit of a breather as well, in terms of not always having to be completely on it in terms of what is like immediately in front of me, immediately behind me. Just focus on your race and put in a bit of consistency. So I do enjoy having that.
It looks like we've hit the first pit window.
It looks like everyone's come in. I don't know if they're just all followed, but you look at the difference in the fuel wear there. It's a really good indicator there in terms of how different people are managing their fuels. Looks like Damley's first one to come out, taking on a lot of fuel, moved over to the super soft tyres. I believe he's already on the super soft, so it looks like a lot of people are going to be just running on the super softs with this. Is that what you'd be doing yourself, just running this out on the super softs, or would you be? I suppose it's quite hard to tell without going into practice and really feeling how the tyres wear and stuff, but I imagine these super softs are going to only run a few laps, really, aren't they? Surely, until you're really going to be feeling the impact of them.
Yeah, I think maybe 5 laps would be their limit, which is about right for the fuel as well. So staying on super softs is a very good strategy. When I done the test earlier, I only ran softs, and I found I had way more tyres left, and it ended up just being a complete waste. So I think super soft is the best strategy for this race.
Yeah, no, fair shout. So a Simo, that gap has extended a little bit through the pits and through the time that we have been away. So Simo finds himself about 3 seconds behind Damley now. So he's going to have to do a little bit of work on that back. But again, Simo finds himself in a lovely little gap here where a Lankster's got a little bit of work to do in order to pull that back. And from what I'm seeing in chat, Chris is there saying that you know, this is his track really. Simo's track. You know, everyone has their track, and this is his. What would you say your track is? Legion.
For me,
the one track that when you see it appear in the dailies or you see it appear in a league season, and it looks like Damley ran himself wide there, and it's afforded Simo the chance to get past him and plenty of straight in front of him. He's definitely going to get in front, and it'll just be a case now of what is Damley going to do about this. He lost his advantage there and lost it on the exit at the end of the straight, and it looks
he
like
might actually attack back here.
What, straight away?
Yeah,
the straight
possibly.
attack.
Yeah.
He's dropped back a little bit.
Definitely the smart move there. With the straights here, if you do tend to make a mistake coming onto the straights, you tend to have enough time with the car's power and the slipstream to actually close it back up and regain your position. So
interesting take there though. And Simo now finds himself up in first with another twist to the tail, but I don't think this is going to be... I mean, it'll be interesting if Simo can try and capitalise on this, but from what I'm seeing, pace of pace, it looks like we're going to be watching a Damley trying to attack for the next half a lap or so, trying to regain his place. Don't think he's ready to give this up. But we'll wait and see how this grows and develops. And Lankster will drop back to Lankster. He still finds himself again in his own little gap as people really started to widen out now. Losing a little bit of grip there, but really just trying to keep it on. Finds himself about 7 seconds behind the two in front of us, and with about a 3-second gap behind him and Oscar as well. So he's got himself a little bit of space behind, but certainly not enough to be completely complacent. Looks like they're still... Oh, I thought I saw these two flicking around in position, but they're not. It's still about a second gap. So Simo has extended that a little bit. And they look like they're running the same tyres and stuff, and Simo actually has a little bit more fuel as well, so he must have took on a little bit more fuel in that previous pit stop. So Simo finds himself in a really strong place here.
Yep. I was sort of guessing that that's how the 3-second gap was created.
Yeah.
But due to Damley's mistake, it seems like Simo's now got the chance to capitalise and possibly take the race from this point onwards. Unless Damley can answer back within the next few laps, I think Simo's pretty much going to hold that position.
Interesting twisted tail. I think a Lankster outside of like really upping the pace to a sort of beyond kind of, you know, really pushing to the fastest lap sort of times. I think he's waiting for a mistake to happen in front of him, really, isn't he? Or waiting for those two to have a battle in order to pull that back. Unless he's got something amazing in strat, but with it being the one make, I can't see much differences in strat that's going to bring back that sort of gap at the moment.
To be honest, with the way the race is turning out to be, strat-wise, I don't think there's going to be any real difference between anybody. Fuel save isn't going to work here because it's just too long a lap. So unless Lankster manages to get his head down and find some time, I've got a feeling Lankster's going to be pretty much stuck where he is for a while.
So we're looking at a possible third place finish, providing there's no major hiccups for himself, because it looks like he's definitely got the pace on Oscar Zero behind him, who's, as you said, is running a fantastic race. I can't say I've ever come across Oscar Zero. You said you saw him in a couple races before, but not a huge amount. No, the only time I've actually seen him is during a couple of our Sunday fun days, of which it's obviously just turn up and ride. So I guess when I raced him, he didn't show his true colours, but he's putting on a very impressive performance. So. It looks like Elite's making the pass here on Dejovis, and Dejovis got the cutback speed, and it looks like lucky there's a bit of ghost in there. Using the ghost advantage.
Seems like the penalty system's helping everyone out here.
Yeah, in terms of
otherwise we would have
contact.
had a lot of contact.
There's a few times I've seen that there. You know, the penalty ghosting. I don't know if people are being aware of it and, you know, using it to their advantage in terms of trying to move into track position, or whether or not they're just being fortunate. You know what I mean? Looks like
Elite up front.
at the very top, or just in here,
No,
Beardy?
just here. Yeah, just Beardy. Seems like he just went off.
Yeah, lost it a little bit and had to drop back behind Elite, because he did have himself a nice little a gap in front of Elite from the last time that we checked. So yeah, a bit of an off there, and now Elite's managed to push himself up into 6th place. It's always interesting every time I watch Elite race, because I have no idea. If you tell me to predict where he's going to finish, it could be anywhere between 4th and last. I have no idea.
Yeah, to be honest, Elite is actually a very quick driver.
Yeah.
It's just from what I've seen of Elite, he's not mistake free, and I think that's what's costing him. Because I reckon he could easily battle for maybe top 5 possibly, depending on who he's obviously racing. But he is a very good driver. It's a shame to see him make so many mistakes.
Yeah, and it's just a case of maybe just trying to get that consistency going, which is kind of like one of the hardest things, isn't it? It's all well and good to be able to pull off that fast lap, but if you can't do that repeatedly, it causes that problem, really, where you find yourself sometimes in last place, isn't it? You know, when really you have the pace to get up a bit higher. So let's go on board with Happy. I don't feel like we've been on board with Happy much. He actually finds himself up in 5th place. He kind of snuck up there, up through, and finds him up in 5th. Anytime anytime I've commentated with a race with Happy, he seems to be always doing pretty well. I think there was a race I was commentating with yourself in where he's up in a 2nd or 3rd place and holding it pretty well. Got himself a lovely a gap here in between Oscar and Elite. So again, just making sure he doesn't do any mistakes and hold it all together. He should be pretty good to secure that 5th place, and maybe wait again on mistakes going up the front. Let's look at the situation up top, as Simo is now really has pushed on that gap a little bit now from Damley, and finds himself almost 3 seconds ahead, coming up now into lap 8 of the race. And yeah, he looks like he's put himself in a good position. I know Damley's just ground down a little bit of time with him there, but it looks like in general he's finding his pace, holding the fastest lap time, and look at the consistency on the right in terms of his times. Really seems to be hitting his strides. So that's really good to see. Let's go and look and see how our guys are faring towards the mid and late pack. So we'll look back, and there's a nice little tight pack here that I didn't actually capture before. Where we've got a DeJovis just sitting behind Ryan, with Beardy just in front of him. Ryan looks like he might be trying to make the move off from Beardy, but it looks like he must have dropped back a little bit there. But we've got a nice little pack here, which could really go any direction really between these 3 cars. It looks like Ryan ran himself a little bit wide there, and he's just brought himself back on with no major incident. He's got to be careful, because DeJovis is not far behind, and Ryan's still sitting with a big arse a penalty on him. Like I said, he must have picked it up from some a contact on the track. We missed.
I think that might have come from when he was battling with Oscar up towards the front, because since that battle we sort of dropped back a bit, so
being a little bit more cautious going into this. DeJovis not getting a great exit out of that final chicane, and losing a little bit of ground to Ryan in front, and Ryan looking nice up and close with Beardy, and Beardy even himself looking nice and close up with Elite as well. And Beardy does, I think last lap we were on board with Beardy, and I think he cut that corner pretty wide as well. I think for him, that corner cut, he must be earning more time than the time he's grinding down through the penalty. So if the advantage is there, you might as well use it, eh?
Yeah. To be fair, it seems like quite a few people are taking advantage of the penalty at the front start of the lap, because it seems like they're making at least half a second on each other, which is a lot of time, as you'll burn off the penalty under natural braking into heavy zones anyway. So it's a bit.
Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say it's a little bit disappointed to see them using it, but at the same time it's understandable with such a competitive pack. So
yeah, exactly. You will try and gain any advantage that you can, really. Just making sure that you don't have that penalty over your head as you come over the finish line. Really, just make sure you grind it down beforehand. So we're going to look at a few guys at the back, see how they're getting on behind that little pack. So a big Barney boy still finds himself in a massive gap there, with about 6 or 7 seconds either side of him. Nice comfortable thing as he comes down the straight. Lays one stair. I'll tell you what, we'll go into the cinematic view way. Finds himself with quite a nice close gap here between himself and Ugor. Again, not completely sure if that's right. About a second between them, so there could be a bit of a race on here. He's actually pulled ahead a bit of Dawes. Dawes now finds himself in this little gap here in 13th, and OK Ranger finds himself a little bit further back, just sitting at the back of the pack in 14th. Probably again one of those ones where he's just trying to race against himself at the minute, which certainly anytime that I find myself at the back of a race, that's what I try and start doing, a race against myself. Yeah, it's an interesting race. It looks like the gap between Adamli and Simo is ground down a little bit, but still sort of sitting around that 2-second mark. Looks like Adamli might be really trying to up the pace now, and really push himself in terms of grinding down that gap between himself and Simo as they come through for the end of lap 9. And it looks like Damley there's run the best lap time with a 3:01 flat. That's something Simo will be aware of. Simo will also be aware of the time grinding down behind him, and I wonder if that'll be playing a little bit of a psychological factor when it comes to this race. Because I imagine, you know, of yourself when you're in these kind of races, when you find yourself in second place and you manage to get that purple fastest lap, you kind of feel like you've got the psychological edge on the guy in front of you, right?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, for the guy ahead, seeing that the guy behind you's got the fastest lap, it will put a bit of extra pressure on you because you know he's closing the gap between yourself and him. So it does have quite a lot of psychological pressure, but Simo seems to be quite good with dealing with it, as he's starting to eke out the gap straight away already. So it looks like Langston might have had enough. As you see him back in 5th in his 9th lap, he got a 3:20, so I don't think it's an extra pit or anything. I think it might have been enough. Oh no, he's on his out lap now. It actually looks like a pit stop.
Yeah, he's on his out lap now.
Looks like he's got extra fuel on board. I'm not sure if he's put new tyres on, because they're still quite fresh after running 4 laps. So
unless he's conserved it pretty well. I can't imagine that kind of wear's only come from half a lap. Seems a lot of wear for half a lap. So yeah, I think
he's doing very good on his tyres if that's the case.
So that drops him back down to 5th and probably gives a little bit of a boost to Oscar and Happy in terms of their track position. But ultimately they're going to have to come in at some point and refuel a bit more and spend a bit more time in pit. So would you be going for the early pit just like Langston did here? Because it looks like he's gone ahead of everyone else really.
I would have, possibly not so early on. I maybe would have waited for the next one just to finish off the race, but because Langston has now pitted early, he's actually going to leave himself vulnerable towards the end. But he should be able to make up a few places, so it'll be interesting to see how he actually manages it and whether he actually manages to fuel save enough for that final stop.
Not as that, he's got to get through the traffic as well. You got Happy in front of him here. He's got to make the pass through him to make it count, really, hasn't he?
He has, but at the same time, judging by the fuel that Happy and the other front runners are currently using, I would say that it's possibly time for them to pit at the end of this lap as well. So we could be looking at another pit window. Definitely.
I mean, in terms of fuel itself, yeah, we're looking definitely like at the end of this lap. You'd be surprised if Happy doesn't go in. You're absolutely right. I think a lot of people are going to be going in as the majority going to pit for this lane. For this lap, apologies. In terms of chat, let's see what else is going on. Between 4th and last, harsh ArbieG. Harsh but true, Dan. That's how it rolls. James says a great show, a great commentating. Oh, appreciated, man. We try and do what we best we can. As Simo and Damley now come in now for their own respective pits. Look at that in terms of their fuel at the end of it. Exactly the same amount of fuel. So what does that tell us? We knew earlier on that Simo had more fuel than Damley. So it really begs the question of Damley might be being a little bit more efficient on his fuel. Still comes out behind as let's go on board with Damley now, and Lankster with Cohen with that early pit has managed to pull up that gap nicely now. Finds himself now with a 1 second gap. He has got a little bit more worn tyres compared to the other two. Looks like they've gone for fresh sets, so still got a little bit of work, but he has managed to do something to work out that gap, which it looks like it was the time he saved in not getting the tyres changed, right?
Yes, quite possibly. Again, only problem with Lankster's strat is he's now actually going to have to remain on that 1 lap early pit stop. So he could actually have caused himself a big problem by having to pit the lap before the final lap. So it'll be interesting to see whether he actually manages to do it or not, but I've got a feeling Lankster could end up dropping a fair bit down the pack, so we'll see how he ends up.
Interesting track to go for. It was either that or stay in third, really, wasn't it? And be happy and content with third. I suppose he's just wanted to roll the dice with it just being a one-make race. You know, no impact in terms of series. You know, why not spin the wheel and see if you can find yourself at the advantage? But like you say here, I mean, he come out there with about a 1.5 second gap, and it's already grown slightly, you know, by about half a second or so. And I imagine the impact of the slight edge on pace that these two seem to be having going around this track, and as well the difference in the tyre wear as Simo runs himself maybe a little bit, as does Damley as well. Damley maybe could have found the advantage there if he managed to hit that nicely, but Simo protected there and keeps his gap at around about a 1.5 seconds, so still not a gap that you'd feel comfortable enough that you'd feel like you're comfortably in first place, but certainly better than having someone right up you. So yeah, it is one of those things. I always find that, I don't know about you as well, Legion, that gap, when it's a gap between 1 and 3 seconds, that's one I'm a little bit more cautious of and a little bit more aware of, you know.
Yeah, of course. Whilst we're here, can we go back to, I think it's 6th and 7th, they seem to be running very close together. Yeah,
good spot. So we've got Elite up on Happy at the moment. Looks like, did Happy go into pit on his one? Yeah, it looks like they're both running on the fresh set of tyres. It looks like Elite, though, didn't go for the fuel, by the looks of it.
It looks like it, but
I'm not sure what the strat is there.
Maybe that's I think that might have been an error within the pits.
An accidental hit on the button. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's probably going to have to come in either the end of this lap, make sure he gets that fuel, or he's going to be in and force himself into a pit stop anyway. So
he finds himself with
it's a shame to see.
A bit of a pen as well, so he might have had a collision at some point. You know, it's not often you get a 3 second that you can build up to 3 seconds just on track limits, so he might have had a bit of contact at some point. But in terms of if he does have to come in again to pit, he might fall himself forward away from Happy, but there is a bit of a gap between himself and Ryan that is not completely seeing him out of it. You know, he's got a 15-second gap behind him. It doesn't look like he's coming into pit on this one, does it?
No, so it looks like he's going to force himself to pit next lap instead.
One more lap as he picks himself another 2 seconds up there by the looks of it. Yeah, so he must have been cutting a lot. So maybe a lot of this time is coming from the track limits, because I'm seeing these massive penalties, and I'm assuming they're coming from bits of contact, but sometimes it's quite hard to tell. But yeah, it's an interesting situation Elite finds themselves in here. It's whether or not he's got enough time to get in, fuel up, and get out, and how far behind he would be, because he's got a nice 15-second gap between himself and Ryan. So, I mean, refueling this car, it's definitely going to be more than 15 seconds, but how much time do you reckon the total pit time is, on average?
On average, for a tyre change on full tank, you're possibly looking at about 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
It is quite a big pit lane here, so it'll be interesting to see if he manages to actually eke out that gap, as it looks like Happy has made a mistake and Elite has now jumped him.
Definitely great spot there. So, but it looks like they're neck and neck as they come through this section here. So let's go through and look at the outside. A little bit of contact there made between the two. Happy on the outside, Elite on the inside as they come through into the little turn just before the end of the straight. It looks like Elite slightly having the edge. A little bit of contact as Elite just tries to squeeze him out to the edge of the course, and it looks like Elite's going to be taking that inside line, and Happy's going to be trying to take the cut back. And is he going to have the pace on him? He's going to try and make the immediate move. Is he going to have to sit in behind in the slipstream? And neck and neck it looks like as they go through into the next turn, which will see Elite again on the inside and Happy on the outside. Not this little turn, the next major stopping zone. So it looks like Elite is going to be having the inside line. A good battle going on here. Again, the penalty system, you know, as we can see there, gives people that advantage there to literally drive through somebody. So we're seeing that a lot this race, but again, if the advantage is there, you might as well try and use it. And looks like Happy used that to his advantage and drove through him, and it's got in front of Elite. But again, with these two cars, they look quite similar, match pace to pace. It looks like we could see a lot of overtaking happening between these two, which is nice to see a little bit of battling going on in the track. And Happy still not able to pull away from Elite. Elite makes a little bit of contact with the wall there, but Happy not taking an efficient line through, and it leaves Elite now. Let's go on board with Elite as he keeps continuing trying to make this move on Happy. Coming towards the end of the
this is going to be a very close battle, especially if they attack each. He's coming for the pit.
Yeah, I mean, this is it now. This was the difference between the two. Is you know, Happy had a full tank of gas. Damley now finds himself down in 3rd place. So unfortunately we must have missed that one there. Apologies guys for missing that one, but it looks like must have been an off or something there from Damley. I don't think it's a pit thing, isn't it? It's an off, isn't it? By the looks of it.
Yeah, that's definitely an off.
Yeah. So unfortunately finds himself.
Like,
oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it actually looks like Langston's managing to save his fuel quite well. He might be able to actually extend that to get himself back on track with the pit stop. So he might actually be able to hold this position. And
Simo as well. You know, his gap between himself and Simo is not unfeasible either. You know, a slip out from a Simo or a couple of bad corners, and suddenly this turns into a bit of interest in a race again. So all up in the open. And Damley as well, after his slip out as well, and feeling like he probably might have the pace on Langster in front. You know, certainly going to be trying to push. So I'd say even still, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are kind of up for grabs and still in play in this race as we go. We're about 2/3 through the race now. About 20 minutes left of the race as Langster runs his best section there, so really pushing himself. You can see his lap times on the right hand side. He is running himself into the lap times now, running a 3:02.8, his best lap on the last one, but still needs to find about a second and a half to really start pushing up to these better times. But with these tyres being as worn as they are, I don't think we'll be seeing that on these tyres certainly. But you can see.
Sorry,
it's right, Lee.
Just wanted to say. Considering how worn his tyres are, he's actually closing this gap to Simo quite nicely. Just through that last section alone, he gained at least half a second. So
he's finding that extra bit of pace. Yeah, definitely. And that's what I'm hoping for. Hoping that all these guys in the top 3 manage to close down their gaps respectively. It's nice to see a tight race up top going into the end of the race. So let's go on board with Oscar Zero. Again, finds himself in that lovely gap in 4th place, and it looks like he's really got that 4th place secured and nailed down if you can just put in some consistent lap times, which you can see on the right hand side there. He has in general put himself in nice consistent times. He's sitting around the 3:02. He drifted up a little bit, slowed down a little bit in the last lap going up to 3:04, but hopefully he can keep inside that 3:03 range and actually see him nicely through to the end of the race. Happy will just quickly slip on board with Happy as well. Finds himself again with a lovely gap, and a few people now on track find themselves with the nice gaps. Again, quite in a similar story with Oscar Zero. Just needs to find themselves in that 3:03 or the lower range 3:04 range to secure his place there. Rye in 6th place. Got a fight still going on slightly with De Hovers, who finds himself about 2 seconds behind. So a little bit of pressure going on here for Ryan. And in terms of differences, in terms of fuel and stuff, we've got Djovis on about half a tank of fuel, and Ryan about the same. So pretty much the same there in terms of fuel and tyres. So definitely a close fight going on there between those two. Elite finds stuff a little bit further back from what before, but we find them with a lot more fuel and a lot better on tyres as we were watching him on board before. And whether or not he can make that count and make that difference in fuel count in terms of the difference between himself and Djovis. Ugo back in 9th place with a 6-second gap behind, and Lays 1-star really pulling it up behind him with only a 3-second gap behind him. So still a definitely race going on behind here. Beardy finds himself a little bit further back, but again I don't know if that's just a difference in the pit strategy showing there, or whether Beardy's having a bit of a bad time. As he actually looks to make the attack on Lays 1-star, but makes a bit of contact there, maybe just trying to actually misjudging the ghosting. And he looks like he's backed off and given Lays 1-star the opportunity to move forward whilst he plans his next move. But Beardy finds himself back here. I'm just going to jump back on board with Lays 1-star and see if there's much difference. He finds himself a little bit down on him in terms of fuel and a tiny bit down in terms of tyre wear, but not much differences. So still very much a Lays 1-star running a really good race. And Beardy found himself slipping back a little bit as well in this race, where I think earlier in the race we saw him up in 7th and 8th. Just moving back with Barney Boy, Big Boy Barney, finds himself in 12th place again. One of these, another one on the track, he's got himself a lovely gap. In terms of the times he's running, his actual best times are 3:05.5. Looks like that come with a penalty, so it's not counted towards his best actual time. But if he can get himself in that 3:07, 3:08 range and keep himself in that, which looks like he's been doing, he should be able to sit himself in 12th and finish that off. And we'll quickly just have a little look at Dawes, who again in a similar gap, again quite similar, just needs to keep himself in that 3:08 range. Can actually get into the 3:07s as we see there on the right hand side. Keep himself in that 3:08 range, and he will manage to keep himself in that position. And okay, Granger finds himself a little bit off the pace in about 2 minutes behind our race lead, about 35 seconds ahead. But at the same time, you know, he's putting his best time as a 3:07.8, so he's shown he's got the pace to be able to keep up with the guys in front of him. It's a case of maybe just trying to get that consistency, and we look at those times, looks like we've had a couple of slips, especially in the last 2 laps as we get to the back end of the race, and maybe the concentration is starting to slip. It looks like Lankster's gone into pit, as we just spotted here now. So Lankster making a move. He's got, as you said, pretty much out of fuel now, so he's going to have to come in and do that now, and he's gone for the fresh set of tyres, but did pretty well to run that one set of tyres over two stops really.
Yeah, he done very well considering he's running the super softs as well. Normally the tyre life is very minimal. They're normally an attacking tyre, so it was very surprising to see him make them last that long. But as I said, now he's going to have to try and extend his fuel for an extra lap. Otherwise, he could find himself coming in right just before the end of the race, which is going to cost him. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But he's certainly, you know, what he's got in terms of gap in front of him here. Simo's going to have to come in for a tyre change and pretty much a full tank. So whether or not he's going to be able to make the opportunity to grind back a bit of that gap, what do you think? Do you think he's going to be coming out in front of him?
I think it's going to be close. If Langston manages to really put his foot down, you can very easily make up quite a lot of time on this track, especially if Simo makes a mistake being on 1 tyres now. So I think he could possibly get towards the front, but again, with the fuel situation he's in, I think he's possibly going to be looking to more so conserve his fuel, so possibly run slightly slower times just to secure maybe 3rd place, possibly 2nd. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely see how what his thought process is and how he approaches it, whether he's going to push himself on those tyres or whether he's going to you know, as you say, hold off. I mean, it might even be worth pushing himself on this one lap, trying to make that grind down the difference whilst he's got the fresh set of tyres, and you know, see if he can make that difference for when he comes out of the pit and get in front of him. He actually runs himself a little bit wide there, but nothing that you can't correct very quickly, and is off away again. But it'll be interesting. Let's wait until Simo comes into the pits, and then we'll jump back on board with Lankster. But let's jump a little bit back and see with what's happening with the battles behind us. And we've still got a tight gap between Ryan and Jehovah's. I don't know how to say it. Yeah, so still a nice tight race going on between these two. Quite hard to call it about who's going to come out on top. Ryan with that big gap still lingering over his shoulders, which has been sort of slowly ebbing up and down. Be interesting to see if he can manage to grind that off before the end of the race as well, to not incur a bigger penalty as well. So yeah, be interesting. I think. Oh, and Simo's just come in now, so let's jump on board with Lancaster and see how that plays out. Be interested as well to see how Damley factors into this as well, who's just coming into pit as well. But we'll stay on board with Lancaster, who's now coming through the final few turns, and let's see how this works out for him in terms of where he is when Simo comes out.
I think what might have helped Lancaster out here is the possibility is the fact that he can also come in with quite a bit more fuel than Simo. So with Simo coming in completely empty, this is going to be quite close.
So Simo looks like he's coming out now.
Yeah, so Lancaster's doing the smart thing here, and he's playing the long game now, trying to conserve fuel. So he's done very well to get back to second. I just hope, for the sake of his race, he's able to eco run with that fuel and see it through till the end.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be. You can see like the differences in fuel between him and everyone else. It certainly is quite significant. So it's whether or not, with the 3-second gap he's got between himself and Damley, if he can fuel save enough to keep himself going to the end of the race without having to forego his second place at a Damley, who's pretty much if you look at the times, and the times these two guys can put in aren't really far away from each other in terms of pace.
No, they're very well matched, but I think what Langston might do here, if Damley does manage to catch him, is possibly sit behind him and try to fuel save a little. Yeah. Try and use Damley to help him out. Yeah. Absolutely. But if not, I think Damley will end up getting him towards the end of the race as he gets a bit more desperate. So
as I'm looking at it, we've got what, 3 or 4 laps left? That's what I'm seeing.
I think we've got 3 laps left. Maybe could stretch to 4 for the front runners, but the guys towards the back are definitely only going to be doing 3 more. So
it'll be interesting to see if that comes into play as well.
Yeah.
Let's hop ourselves back, and we've still got these two right up with each other. Jova's still taking the lead, but it looks like Rye's got the pace on him going through this straight. You see that gap grinding down, so he's going to be able to pull it up with only about 1/3 through the straight at the minute. So definitely going to grind it down and keeping himself nice and tight going into the turn at the end. But yeah, these are the two main battles I'm seeing. I think there's actually look behind. It looks like got Lay's 1-star as well, not that far behind. Ugal, I have no idea.
Not entirely sure myself. Yeah. It's first time seeing him, but that could be interesting. Lay's is normally quite a quick driver, so it'll be interesting to see if he can capitalise on that position and gain one more. Yeah, I'm match pace pretty much with Lay's. We've been pretty much a pace for face in the tier 2 Beetles, so yeah, I find him a fast person to race against, and I find him fun to race against, and a nice clean racer as well, so that's always good to know. Beardy, I think 11th place is pretty much the best he can hope for, unless again there's a major slip in front, and really just trying to put himself in some good laps, which if you look at the times he can do, he can run down to a 3:04. It just looks like he's had a lot of slips, which is seeing him down in 11th. Possibly, but I've just realised as well, he's also been running the soft tyre, which is obviously putting him at a disadvantage in terms of pace over such a long track. So maybe that's where he's gone wrong.
Opting for the wrong tyre type.
Bit of bad strategizing, but it's surprising to see him running so low. So
I was thinking,
wildcard has failed me.
Yeah, wildcard Beardy has let you down. But no, I mean, like in terms of what he's running, like you can tell he can do that better time. You can see the best time he run a 3:04.6. You know, that's a 5th to 6th place kind of finish. pace, but if you look at those times around it, you know, a lot of 3:33s, 3:21s, and a few of them are going to be pits, but I'm seeing a few slips as well, which have caused him a lot of time as well. So it's unfortunate for Beardy. McDawes actually finds himself in a bit of a scrap. I thought Dawes was in sort of a no-man land in terms of race, but I think he's got in front of Big Boy Barney. Big Boy Barney must have had a bit of an accident and finds himself now 5 seconds behind Dawes. I think, has he got himself on pause there?
Nope, he's not on pause, but it looks like he might have had a bit of an incident lap before the pit. So it's a great shame, but hopefully Barney will close back up and make a little interesting battle for us to see towards the end.
Yeah, definitely. We'll check back on them coming into the last couple of laps and see what's going on. But we're just going to jump back up now to our main fight at the top between Langster and Damley. I think Simo's pretty much got this one in the bag now, outside of any huge mistakes or anything now. It's just now the gap between Langster and Langster and Damley has gone down by about 1 second, so Damley has pulled it back a bit, but again, you might be thinking a part of this is due to fuel saving. He's got himself about half a tank left with about 3 laps remaining, so it is going to be very close. He's going to have to find that extra fuel from somewhere. And as you were saying, a Legion, it might come as actually Damley got a bit of a slip there. It might come from a Legion letting a Damley in front of him coming into like the second to last lap and using his slipstream just to try and fuel save a bit.
Yeah, to be honest, and to give Langster a fair shout, he's actually doing very well with his fuel. If you look back at Damley, there's not much between them anymore.
Let's go through. Yeah, definitely.
As you can see, it's very minimal now. So it looked like Langster's managing to hold off the attack from Damley whilst also managing to fuel save. So he could actually be in for second place,
be
which will be very nice to see. Still
got another, like I said, 2 laps left realistically, with about 3 minutes left to go, possibly 3 laps left. So yeah, I think we're going to be seeing another 3 laps from these front runners, aren't we?
Yeah, they're about 30 seconds ahead of time. So
yeah, they'll be getting another lap out of them. So that's probably not good news for Langster, really, is it, in terms of total time? But hopefully he's worked out right, and as you say, can fuel save enough. As that gap has come down for about half a second since we last jumped on board. So definitely, Damley is in with a shout here. It's not completely secured for Langster if he really pushes himself, especially with that little bit of extra fuel he's got. He might find himself actually just to manage to sneak the second place away from Langster at the end of this race. So yeah, interesting fight going on between these two. Looks like Elite has had come in pit. Must have been a bit of a misjudgment from it if he's coming in and pitting this time. Can't see him being part of the strategy. He's got a 10-second penalty. Don't know what's happened there. That's impressive. We'll have to ask some questions about the 10-second penalty for Elite afterwards. Happy finds himself up in 5th place, so running a good race from Happy, and he's got himself a lovely gap either side, so it looks like Happy secured himself that 5th place, unless again pending any major slip-ups. Jehovah's actually has pulled away his gap a little bit from Ryan now, so 3 seconds ahead of Ryan is actually pushing up on Elite now, so finds himself out of one battle where he was doing a lot of defending now, and another battle where he is on the attack. So be interesting again. Coming through the last couple of laps here, has Elite got enough to hold on to this, as he had just to come in to pit himself. He's given himself a fresh set of super soft, so he's got the slight edge on Davis in front of that, but it'd be interesting again to see how that pans out and see if Davis can make a further move up and get himself up to 6th place. Ryan with a comfortable gap, I think he's going to secure himself the 8th place pending major slip-ups. Again, he's still got that lovely big penalty on top of his head, so interesting to see if he can he still needs to grind that down before he goes over that finish line, or else it is really going to hurt him, and he might even find himself slipping back a little bit. Ugor finds himself 9th place with a 10-second gap either side, so it looks like it's a 9th place finish for Ugor coming up. Lays again finds himself with a gap 10 to 30 seconds either side, so looks like Lays, after running a really good race, finds himself in 10th place. Dawes still having a fight with Beardy here, finds himself slightly in front. McBeardy now down in 12th place. It looks like this is going to be the scrap down at the bottom for 11th place. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well as we come through. Big Barney Boy Again, not actually still out of this himself, only about 2.5 seconds behind ArbieG, who, as we know, the two guys in front have not been extremely consistent through their laps, so there's still a potential for one of them to have an off, and Big Boy Bunny to climb himself up one more place, and Ranger finds himself in the pits at the moment, just refueling up, and again probably just racing more against himself rather than other people, so it's good to see him still carrying on with the race. In fact, I don't think he's carrying on the race, actually. I say that. It looks like he's actually just sitting in pits waiting for the race to finish off, so a fair play to him. Must have been just a little bit out of his pace and just wants to sit in and keep out of people's way, but still appreciating him sitting in pits so people still get the right results come through. So yeah,
it is actually nice to see that even though people aren't quite with the pace, they're still willing to come in and have a laugh with everybody.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Sure, they're all having a giggle in chat. So it's nice to see him. It's nice to see him trying to learn where his pace is at compared to the rest of the pack. So fair play to him, and hopefully he'll improve soon and enjoy some more races.
Yeah, definitely. So it looks like the gap between Langster and Damley hasn't gone down that much, but Damley has now put in the best lap time of a 3:08, so he's running the fastest lap and really is pushing for this 5th place. So certainly still not out of this race, left with about a lap and a half remaining for these front runners here. I think everyone else behind them probably, I think Oscar Zero, 20-second gap behind him, probably is on his last lap himself, and looks like he's going to be securing that 4th place. Maybe might have to put in one more lap, maybe. It's going to be a bit close of Oscar, but certainly these top 3 we're going to be getting an extra lap from of race, as Langster finds himself with just under a quarter of a tank, so it's still going to be pretty close, I think, with the fuel, and Langster Damley finds himself with almost exactly a quarter of a tank, has that slight edge on him in terms of fuel, and that might really start to hurt Langster at the very end of the next lap. Simo, again, I think he's got this race in the bag. He has lost a little bit of time at a Langster, actually a lot of time there, as that's come grinding down now, but I think that was him working off his a penalty maybe, or he might have just had
possibly. It looked like he ran a bit wide in that corner, so
lost a lot of time though, didn't he? He lost about 3 seconds.
Yeah, but again, with the fuel situation for Langster, I don't think Simo has much to worry about here, because he's definitely got the fuel to run one more lap.
Definitely.
So I think first is definitely Simo's to lose, if anything.
Exactly, just make sure he doesn't have a slip off, and make sure he just puts in a nice lap around the 302, even the 303 range, even the 304 range. We'll see him. I see this race through nicely as that gap seems to extend.
Langster's coming to the pit.
He's had to come in, so unfortunately it doesn't look like we're going to get a a 2nd place finish for Langster. I think he just saw that situation coming up, and I don't think he had that one more a lap in him, which is unfortunate. I think he went for it, but you did call that earlier on that he might have to go in.
It was a dangerous strategy, but I think with the lap being so long, it's too much fuel to save overall. It's a shame it didn't work out, because for a moment there it looked like he was going to pull it off.
And which would have been. You got to remember the situation he was in prior to this all happening, and him putting this a strategy into play. He was behind the front 2 by quite some way, so for him to even try to make a threat on that 2nd place, he has done pretty well, but unfortunately, as Happy's come in now to finish his race in 5th place, so he's the first guy to come over the line. With the differences in time, it looks like Oscar's going to have to run out for one more lap as well. So we'll go on board with DeJovis, who's just come in now, and Elite, who's just coming in now with Ugor about 9 seconds behind. So we'll just follow these back runners now as they come in now, and it looks like Elite's going to easily secure his 7th place finish. So well done, Elite, on a good race. Ugor coming in now. Again, we don't really know much about Ugor, and again, feel free to correct me on pronunciation if you ever watch this back in the comments. But he ran himself a great race there, find himself with a comfortable 8th position. Lay's 1 star has actually gone up to 9th place. I don't know if we've had a dropout or...
it actually looks like Ryan
unfortunately, unfortunately found himself back in 10th place. So unfortunate for Ryan there, because there was even times I was seeing Ryan pushing up for like for a 6th and 5th, and he could have ended up in a really good place.
I will say though, it looks like he actually had the same problem as Langster, as he had fresh tyres and a full tank at the end there. So seems like he.
Beardy's done well on his fuel. It looks like he's worked that out well, and finishes in 11th, and Dawes just behind him, not that far behind him, finishes in 12th. And we've got Big Boy Barney just coming over now to finish off his race, and he now secures his 30th place finish. It looks like OK Granger's quite happy with sitting in the pits and just seeing out his last position there. So we're going to go on board with these guys, the top 3, and we've also got Oscar sitting back there, but we're going to be paying attention to these top 3. I can't see much changing between these top 3 if you look at the time differences between them. There's about a 5-second gap in between each of them, so I can't see anything happening on this final lap. So we'll give Simo his due for running a great race, and we'll stay on board with Simo to the end for running a great race, and certainly not one that anyone. I think we had a couple of people in chat call Simo for the start of the race, but yeah, definitely I think people knew he was preferred on this track, but I think for me anyway, from what I've been exposed to in this team, I think that's a surprise for me to see him come out with the first place anyway.
It is a bit of a surprise for me as well, considering Langster's a very quick driver, so it's surprising to see. But again, you put someone in a car type they like and put them on their track, you won't touch them on the day. So
no, absolutely. And I take our hats to him as well, just because we didn't expect him to win. It doesn't devalue his win at all. I think he ran a really good race and pretty much had the race secured from about halfway through, really.
Yeah.
Well done to Simo and to everyone who took part. I think there were some really good races on there. Who do you think was the surprise package of the race? I think for me, I'm going to say Oscar Zero with the 4th place finish from Oscar Zero. That was a surprise package for me personally, but.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. As I said, I've raced with him a couple of times, so it was surprising to see him so far up the pack. So very well played to Oscar there for that amazing 4th place. But
yeah, kudos
to everybody. It is a very hard track to race. It's a very long circuit, so I think everyone's raced fairly well today. And again, congratulations to Simo, who I think pulled that one out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was a great race from Simo, and really all of those guys in the top 3. Langster certainly caused us a bit of thing to talk about when it comes to his fuel and what he was trying to do there. But I think he's just come in and chat himself and said that he has messed up his fuel saving. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this week's stream. So I just want to say thanks to everyone who's been in chat, chatting to us and interacting with us. Thanks to everyone in the race as well who was taking part. I think everyone did really well, and I thought we just saw in general good, clean, wholesome a race in which everyone wants to see. And I suppose that is it for today's stream. If you're interested in taking part in races in the future, don't forget to join the Discord with the link in the description below. And yeah, it's a quite friendly and welcoming group who run a lot of leagues and different races for people of all school levels and persuasions, I suppose. So yeah, feel free to jump in if you ever want to take part. But I've been ArbieG, and I want to say thanks to Allegiant as well for joining us for today. It's been helpful to get your insight.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been very fun.
We'll definitely be asking you back at some point to join us in, perhaps doing some more in the future. So we will catch you guys next time. We'll be back next Tuesday, with the Group 4 Sprint Series. So look forward to doing the commentary for you guys for that.